Are you a gym owner that wants to make more money while reducing your weekly workload and reducing your blood pressure? Then you're going to enjoy these 5 pithy-ass productivity tips. My name is Mark Fisher from Biz for Unicorns, and I know firsthand that running a gym, or really running any business, can get pretty dang overwhelming. Because if we're not careful, thanks to the small computers in all of our pockets, we can run the risk of always being on. And if this happens, we don't think clearly to make good decisions, we're not able to be present with our family and friends, and we grow to resent our business and feel like we're drowning under a mountain of work that we can't see any way we'll ever get out from under. Now, there's a lot to be said about this to fully address this issue, and I have a lot of thoughts on it. So if you're looking for a full model, well, you might want to check out my course, Time Management for Gym Owners. You can find it in the description box below. I'll say briefly, it's pretty applicable to everybody. We call it for gym owners, and certainly I speak to gym owners in it, but in practice, if you're either a personal trainer or a manager at a gym or even an online coach, the reality is the principles of time management don't really vary. It's really the principles are going to be the same. So if you're interested in finding out more, you can click the link in the description box below. Now, I am known in a lot of circles for being ferociously productive, and I think that's true. However, like everybody else, sometimes I go through periods where I'm not quite as disciplined as I could be, and I'm coming out of a period recently where that was happening. Now, to my defense, I had some good reasons for working some of the crazy hours I was, which is I was working on selling my first gym. Now, during this period of time, there was a lot of extra work that had to get done, and I do think on the one hand, while we want to optimize our time management so that we're not working every second, there's gonna be seasons of grind as an entrepreneur, right? So you might be an early stage gym owner and you might be in a situation where you haven't really gotten traction yet for your gym, and you might need to put in some extra hours for a while. You know, you might need to just get up earlier, you might need to work on the weekends. There is occasionally a case to be made for a dedicated season of 3 to maybe 6 months, maybe even more, where you're really putting in extra work to get the flywheel going. And that's what this time period was for me. And real talk, it wasn't fun. It was hard. I was getting up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I was having trouble sleeping. I was skipping out on my reading. I was doing the bare minimum with my workouts. I wasn't able to be as present as I wanted with my daughter because I had all these thoughts in my head. Now, in practice, in my case, it did wind up being a very specific season that passed, which is good. However, when I began the new year, it allowed me to take stock of my current habits. And this is something of a yearly ritual. Each year, I want to look at what is my relationship with my work? Are there any places I can find more efficiencies and improvements? And it struck me that not only did I have more free time in general, because now I had one less business I had to think about, but I was doing some sloppy things, right? So in my sort of yearly renewal ritual, I discovered a few things and I want to share them with you today. Here are 5 tips that I think you can use to be more productive each and every day. First, I suggest an email, and if you use it, Slack diet. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I used to have on my browser, I'd have a tabs. Are any of you tab people? Do you tab stuff? I had a lot of tabs open. I had 4 email tabs open for Mark Fisher Fitness, Business for Unicorns, Alloy, and my personal email. And I had 3 different Slacks open. Holy crap. So to fix this, I just went on a diet. Now, obviously, Mark Fisher Fitness, I now only check once a week because I don't have a formal role in the business anymore. So now, if I'm looking at my core browser, which is open most of the time, the only emails that are open are Business for Unicorns and Alloy. And the only Slack that's open now is Business for Unicorns. So that was a massive reduction of just the business and bumpings. And to be clear, I don't like any notifications of any kind. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But even just visually seeing those tabs would encourage me to go and check in and see if there was anything there that I need to take care of. I also edited my phone. So I took the non-Business for Unicorn Slacks off my phone, and I also got rid of emails on my phone app. So the only emails now I have on my phone are actually my personal email and Business for Unicorns. Alloy is not quite as time sensitive usually, so I can just look on that on my desktop when I get there. Now, 2 other things. One other quick recommendation. I use a Chrome plugin called Inbox When Ready. I think it's like $100 a year. Well worth it. And essentially what it does is if you have your email tabs open, after a couple of minutes of not using that email, it will automatically hide any incoming inboxes until you click it. I think that is super, super useful. And then the real tip, I haven't figured out how to do this, but I hope you're better at this stuff than I am, is you would be best off, I would be best off, if we only checked email 2 to 3 times per day. Because think about that. If you truly inbox 0 2 to 3 times per day, you'd still be just about the most responsive person you know. Some people, like me, have a compulsive habit of checking and responding to emails all day long every day, and it's just not efficient. Now, I always want to be real with you. This isn't something I've mastered, something I probably should take seriously and really be more rigorous about. But all in all, the good news is I've just reduced the amount of emails I get and the amount of emails I pay attention to so drastically that even not doing that as well as I could, I'm seeing things be a lot easier in a lot less time. My second time management tip is I have gone on something of a news diet. Now, I'm not news fasting, but I am a news dieter, which is to say I'm eating less total news, and the news I am eating is organically raised, humanely sourced, and minimally processed. One of my compulsive habits had tended to be for a while compulsive news checking. I'd look on my phone, I'd look at apps, I'd scroll through things. And while I'm all for being an informed citizen, I can't tell you that level of depth of understanding and mastery of what was going on with current events was necessarily moving the ball forward for me professionally, nor making me particularly happy. So I didn't get rid of the apps. They're still on my phone. But essentially my personal approach now is, although I do still sometimes scroll through headlines, right? I want to be real with you. I don't really read the news during the week at all. I tend to read it mostly on Saturdays, and I prefer slow news, which is to say that most of my news consumption now is not the breathless of the media, news cycle, social media kind of stuff. I read long-form magazine slow news that somebody took time to think about, that really wrote about in a thoughtful way. And I find this to be both less triggering and also, to the extent that I'm actually getting any value moving in the world to understand what's going on in the news, I find this does a better job facilitating that for me. And again, it saved a ton of time. I was wasting so much time doing it. And this is the type of thing, this will really get you, right? And I'm pretty good about not being a social media person, but the news really was a downside for me. Now I have more free time to hang out with my daughter. I'm reading more books, which can actually hopefully make my brain work better, make me more useful to you professionally. And I'm getting back into comic books. Shout out, Jonathan Hickman, X-Men. Really good. Highly recommend. A third productivity tip. So this one's a little controversial, so follow me on this one. Delegating domestic chores, domestic help. Now, some of you might think like, what, do you think you're too good to scrub your toilet? And listen, I'm not saying that you can't scrub your toilet. I'm just saying that there's only so many hours in the day and you have to decide how to use your time. So for me, I do not get any sort of emotional or spiritual nourishment from cleaning the bathroom or cooking food or doing my own laundry. So I'm happy to outsource all of these items. Now, truly, and I mean this very sincerely, I want to make a carve out if you love doing those things and they really fill your cup. So as an example, I obviously read X-Men comic books, right? That's not probably moving the ball forward professionally, but it's a kind of renewal activity for me. And there are some domestic chores that might fill your cup and you sincerely love them. So for instance, maybe you love cooking and now it's not a chore, it's a hobby. Well, if it's a hobby, okay, well that's sort of a different animal there, and I want to make space for you being intentional with your time. However, if you don't love cleaning and you don't love cooking and you don't love doing laundry, that's very affordable in most markets, even for a gym owner that's ramping up to afford help to take care of some of those things. And not only that, like if you say that those things you're doing to save money, well, the reality is you'd be better off spending that time on doing things that are going to grow your gym. So your rule is you're welcome to mow your own lawn. You just can't mow your own lawn and then say you don't have time to follow up with leads or do the things that are going to help your business grow. I mean, you can. I'm going to like you regardless, but it's up to you. But you probably don't need to do that. Number 4. Okay, well, I'm cheating. This one is not a new one for me, and you've probably heard me talk about this before, but I'm going to say it again. Gosh darn it. Take your push notifications off your phone. Now, I mentioned before briefly, I do have access to 2 emails on my email app. I do have access to BizFunicorn Slack, but I don't traffic and no buzzins and beepins and boozins, which is to say that at all times, my phone is on Do Not Disturb, and I don't even get push notifications even silently for any of my apps. The only way somebody can get in touch with me is if they text me. I will then see there's a text that come in, so I'll be alerted about that, but I'm on Do Not Disturb, so I'm only going to find out about it when I intentionally go and look at my phone. Now, one exception I make, which some of you might need to consider and make as well, is you can set up your phone so it's customized that certain numbers can break through. So in my situation, I want my wife to be able to contact me. I often joke, my wife's name is Sheena. I often call my phone the Sheena machine because it's largely to contact my wife and take pictures of my baby. So you can adjust the settings in your phone that a particular contact, like perhaps a spouse, is able to actually make your phone buzz. Further, I would acknowledge, depending on where you're at in your gym's journey, if you're doing a lot of the front-facing sales stuff, that kind of is time sensitive. And I realize that's the hard part about this whole approach where you're really looking to create space for your brain to get stuff done is when it comes to sales, speed does matter. You do have to be responsive. And I recommend your phone getting a text message alert if somebody opts in because you want to get in touch with them immediately. But the reality is it's not like most of you are getting 100 leads per week, right? You're not getting nearly that volume. And you can just set up your phone, your iPhone, your Android so that you still get notified immediately to go and contact that lead right away. Just because while I'm all for you having your deep work in the morning, if somebody's trying to get in touch with you and work with you and give you money, you should stop what you're doing and get in touch with them so that you have the opportunity to get them into your gym. As a final note, you can also teach people close to you, like my incredible Swiss Army knife assistant, Joy. People can learn that if they just double call you, your phone will ring, right? So the people that maybe don't buzz and beep, but I know sometimes might need to contact me for a time-sensitive thing. Like I think Joy spends half her life just getting two-factor authentication codes for me to log into various software platforms on my behalf. You can teach everybody to just double call and then the phone will ring. Even now, for most of you, if you have an iPhone, you can choose to disturb somebody, even if it's on do not disturb, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, listen, if pirates are attacking your gym and you need to defend your gym from pirates, it would probably be better for your staff to not send you a text message. They probably should double call you at that point. Finally, creating a shutdown ritual. Now, this is one that I've talked about for years and I had just gotten sloppy with. So this isn't new necessarily for me, but it was something that I had really wandered off and stopped doing consistently. And again, to my defense, there was a lot of things going on. But what was really pernicious about this is, my daughter is a youngin', so she'd get home from daycare. We don't have a ton of time together during the week because I'm working and she's at daycare. And I'd find myself going back to the emails later in the day. And again, there's a time and a place where that's going to make a lot of sense. And that made sense maybe during some of last year, but it wasn't really making sense early in this year. So creating a very firm shutdown ritual where you shut down your brain, you close your computer, and you really prep for the next day, I think is super foundational to be present with your loved ones and to have your brain function well. So you can choose what time of day you want to do this. Maybe it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whenever you end your official workday. You want to brain dump and organize the next day's to-do list. You want to do everything you can to lubricate the next day. So for instance, in my situation, if there's a project I'm working on, I'll even get the tab open on my computer. So when I open it up the next day, I'm ready to rock. I do everything I can to really make sure the next day is prepared. I organize all the goats of my brain so nothing's distracting me. I close the computer. My to-do list is spick and span, ready for the next day. And then we move on. And then I move on to my evening and I go hang out and have dinner with my wife and my baby. This will also save you a lot of time too, by the way. The lubrication of the morning thing, it is a big deal. A lot of people overlook this, and then they spend the first 15 minutes of their morning while they're their absolute freshest and most creative, rifling through papers and like pulling up browsers and loading things. I think you should just get everything done the night before, so the next morning, when you do whatever your morning ritual is, you can just hit the ground running and start making the magic. And I'm gonna give you a bonus tip, if that's okay. I'm gonna give you a bonus tip here, and this one, I'm gonna warn you, it's a little bit morbid, but your bonus tip number 6 is Momento Mori. I have this tattooed on my thigh. Memento Mori, right? Remember, you will die. Not to be overly morbid, but a lot of you know it's been a weird period for me. I've had definitely some loss in my family not that long ago. And I'm a little self-conscious because I feel like I might be turning into like the gym business guy that's always talking about death. But I do think, listen, it can be very clarifying to look at how you're spending your time in light of the fact that none of us are long for the world and tomorrow is never promised. So I think that while that certainly can be overdone, and I admit sometimes I'm somebody that gets like a little too stressed, like I gotta get it all done. I have such a short time here in the mortal coil. In general, I think more people probably be better off spending a little bit more time being honest and really grappling with the fact that they're not here for forever, because at its best, I think that can be quite clarifying and it can allow you to make decisions that are reflective of how you hope to behave in that moment that comes for all of us when you're on your deathbed. And my hope is when that happens, you're very happy about how you've chosen to spend your time. We're all building sandcastles at the seashore. Make yours pretty, but the tide's coming out, baby. All right, friends, thank you so much for watching this video. I think this is a super important topic. If you want a bigger deep dive, again, you can go in the description box below. Check out my course, Time Management for Gym Owners, which again is applicable to everybody. It's a super valuable course, one of the most highly rated things we've ever created for Business for Unicorns. And now you can go ahead and just get access by clicking the link below. And if you're just looking for more free stuff, you can also find links down there to follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our podcast, and subscribe to this here YouTube channel. As always, I I appreciate your, wait for it, time. This is Mark Fisher from Business for Unicorns, and I'll see you soon for another video where we'll share more actionable tips, psychological frameworks, and philosophy.